this video is going to show you how to create a scatter plot on the TI-84. This is when we get into linear correlation and regression. And I like to show my students this because it does help them visualize the situation, and then after we find all the other statistical values, you can kind of relate it to what you see. But either way, I mean, technically it's up to you. This is how you do it if you want to. So again, statistical graph is always in stat plot. So you're going to press second y equals to get into your stat plots, and you need to turn one of these on. So plot 1 I'm going to, and I'm going to turn it on. Now I forgot to obviously first input the values. So if you haven't, I kind of did that already, so I skipped that, but obviously you guys have to input your values first. So stat edit to input your values first. So I put my X values in L1 and my Y values in L2. And I like to tell my students to list or label like what they do and where they put it. And obviously, you know, you want them to make sure that they put their independent, you know, list in X, which makes sense to put in L1, and then their dependent case for L2. So you want them to make sure they know where they're putting their independent versus dependent variables. So once you input those values, you go second, stat plot, you turn the plot on. You want to choose, and obviously to turn it on, we scroll up and highlight, make sure that on is highlighted, and we want to choose this one, scatter plot, right? And this is why I said it's really important for them to remember where they put their independent versus dependent, because it's asking for X list and Y list, and you obviously want your X list to contain your independent stuff and your Y list to contain your dependent stuff. So I put my X list in L1 and my Y list in L2, and if you forgot how to input these, it's second 1 for L1. Whoopsies. Hold on. Let me go back. It's second and then the number 1 for L1. And then if I want to put my Y list, it's L2, second and the number 2 to pull up L2. See them on top of the numbers here. This is just how you want to mark your scatter plot. Do you want it to be like a box? Do you want it to be a plus sign? Do you want it to be an actual, you know, dot? And then the color, you don't have to change that. If I go, so everything is put here. This is not my graph. This is just, I'm telling the calculator what I want the graph to be and where the values are to, you know, to pull from to graph it. I go to graph to actually see the graph. Now, you know, I see some of the graph. Let's assume I can't see all of it. Anytime I'm missing part of my graph or I can't see it, I always go to window. I don't like to use zoom fit. Some people do. I don't, because of the fact that it could, you know, it changes this sometimes to be weird or funky. Now I kind of changed this before. My minimum X value here is 4 and my maximum is 8. I made my X min 0 and my X max 10 because, you know, I'm going outside of this a little bit. I want to see everything. And then my Y min is 5 and my Y max is 32. So I'm going to make my Y min 0 and my Y max can stay at 40 just to be kind of outside that a little bit. And then I'm going to go back to my graph and I can see my lovely scatter plot. And I would ask my students, does it look like there's a linear relationship, blah, blah, blah. Is it strong? Is it weak? And then after they see it here, they can go with the correlation coefficient and determine if it makes sense with what they saw. So if you want to find the correlation coefficient and the regression equation, that's another video.